I'm so happy that someone finally asked this question. What is shadow work? So first, let's start with what is the shadow? Our shadow is that part of our psyche where we put things that we suppress, repress, deny, and avoid. So simply put, think of it as anything that you have a trigger around, that is your shadow. It can also be trauma, but that is your shadow repression. So the shadow needs to be expressed, and the way that we express it is to deliberately shine the light of our consciousness onto those dark parts. Carl Jung has a great quote, and it's, "That which you seek the most is where you least want to look," or at least that's a bastardization of it. Where you find things of pain, things that have emotional trigger, things that have a lot of strong energy behind, that is your shadow, and that's for you to work through. A lot of the time, the things that are in shadow, we're unaware to the unconscious benefits of that thing being around. So think of things like triggers. The reason why we have triggers is because something in the environment around us has told us that this thing is unsafe, or it makes us feel unsafe, or we have some kind of story, or we've been reprimanded for expressing whatever that is. So think of it, when you're a kid, you got screamed at for doing something that your parents thought was bad or wrong. That there will create an emotional imprint that you'll make a story and create meaning behind. And if you don't express that part of yourself or create introspection through light shining on that shadow to illuminate it, it will stay where it is in the unconscious. The easiest way to start doing shadow work is to think about what's my buttons? What are the things that when they get pressed that I react instead of respond? So think of it, someone calls you, for instance, I'm not saying this about you, but someone calls you a bad mother. Whoa, I want to jump, I want to literally jump down their throat. I want to kill that person. That's my instant reaction because I know that I'm not a bad mother. However, that causes pain because somewhere maybe in our unconscious, maybe insecurely, we're holding on to an attachment that we're not actually a good parent, a good mother for in this instance. So therefore you have to shine the light of introspection to be able to understand that that part is just a fictitious imaginary piece that you're holding on to. Essentially, it's a conspiracy theory against yourself. You don't have any evidence of it being real. So you can't recognize that there's no evidence to it if you don't bring it into the light of consciousness and voluntarily do introspective work. So there's a shadow to every light archetype, and Jung came up with many, many different archetypes. So his hypothesis around archetypes and energies from the collective unconscious, they possess us all. They can take over our bodies. Things like the sovereign energy, things like warrior, the magician, the lover, the trickster. Trickster is Loki. All these sorts of energies have very much a shadow side of them as well. So whatever is expressing also has an unconscious side. So one of my favorite frameworks to look at things around the four main archetypes. So the lover, the sovereign, so king or queen, the warrior, and the magician is the opposite side of those in the shadow. The lover is the prostitute. Your values, standards, requirements are coming from that lover energy. It's instigational energy. It's creation energy. So the opposite side of that, where you don't have standards, you don't have values, you don't have belief systems, you're prostituting your body. And that is the shadow archetype. That is the prostitute. Then we move on to the sovereign. The sovereign's shadow archetype, think of it, what does a sovereign do? A sovereign, in their light, fulfillment, and embodiment, they can make decrees. They make decisions very easily. They rule over themselves. They have dominion. They can enact all of the standards, beliefs, and requirements from that lover archetype. However, if you're in the shadow archetype of the sovereign, you're the child. Think of it like the high chair tyrant. Think of it like your toddler sitting in the high chair, throwing food off the table, going, fuck this, I don't like this. And obviously they don't swear, but like that's that energy. So think of it, anyone in their child energy is trying to embody the sovereign. They're trying to embody a light archetype, but they're doing it from a childish place. They're doing it from a tantrum place. They still might get their way, but they're getting their way through very, very unintegrated, unhealed energy. Same thing for the warrior, the opposite side of the warrior. So the warrior goes out and makes forth in relentless action, relentless momentum moving forward. The opposite of the warrior is the victim. So the victim is, why me, poor me, my life's so hard, you don't understand my life. It's very disgusting energy. Now moving over to the magician. The magician is the manifester. It is the spiritual makeup of men and women. The spiritual makeup that allows you to be able to click and create, to be able to manifest into the physical world fast. It's like you collapse time out of our awareness, because time is a construct. So when you're in that when you're in the magician energy, you can fucking create anything from thin air. Literally, you know when you're from the magician energy, because things just show up. You say, and therefore it creates. It's like abracadabra. I speak, therefore I create. It's really interesting stuff. The opposite side of the magician is, some people say it's the dark magician. It's the dark wizard sort of energy. I say it's the saboteur. It's still magical, but you're magically fucking up your life. You're literally self-sabotaging things. So having a look at the opposite archetypes of what our light consciousness wants to promote. So the thing with like the spiritual new age movement is it's all love and light. It's all airy-fairy. These motherfuckers are literally casting an entire gigantic unconscious shadow throughout the collective unconscious because they're not doing that introspective work and deliberately shining their light and love internally on their hang-ups. So that's a little lesson on shadow work. There's many ways that you can do it. Many ways. You need to find a way that works for you, but find a way that's congruent so that you can actually articulate what you're experiencing because, like I said, many ways of doing it. But if it doesn't make sense to you, you're not going to be able to unpack things and you're probably going to create more things like complexes, paradoxes, things that are hard to reconcile with that can actually fragment your mind even further. So yeah. Little lesson on shadow work. If you guys have any more questions, throw them down. Apparently overnight, you guys really enjoyed what I was talking about when it comes to sleep token and archetypes and the anima and the unconscious and shadow and all these beautiful things. And we've wound up with an extra 1,000 of you here. Thank you. Let's go for a fucking journey together. Much love. Take care. Follow me to rise higher.